So it's well known that all Star Wars fans hate Kathleen Kennedy, and we all recognize how badly she's running Lucasfilm. But it seems like it's actually gaining traction in mainstream media just how bad Lucasfilm is being run, and really just how poorly Disney is being run as well. Yes, they're making money, and yes, they're buying out all of these studios, so it seems like they're becoming somewhat of a monopoly. But at the same time, they're mismanaging their company so badly. They could be making so much more if they just hired the right people, fired the right people, and managed their company properly. Well, Forbes recently wrote an article about how bad Disney is being run, and more specifically, how stupid the Gina Carano firing was. They described just how dumb of a decision it was for them to fire Gina Carano and not Pedro Pascal, and how hypocritical they are as a company. We know in the Disney shareholder call, Bob Chapek, the CEO of Disney, said that Disney isn't left or right leaning, and everyone knows that's a bold-faced lie, because if you weren't left or right leaning, if you truly were center, you would have either not fired Gina Carano, or you would have fired Gina Carano and Pedro Pascal. And that's just the way it is. You aren't center, you are 100% left leaning, and everyone knows that, including the mainstream media, and Forbes knows this as well. So the headline of the article is Disney's firing of Gina Carano is confusing and hypocritical, and then it says lacking sound management. So right off the bat, you know what this article is going to be about. It's the lack of sound management within Disney, within Lucasfilm, and specifically they're talking about Gina Carano in this article, so you can assume that they're talking about the management of Lucasfilm. The article says, I've been sitting on this article for a while, allowing my opinion to form. That's something that many companies don't do enough of these days. Instead, they often rush to conclusions too fast, yielding to the views of vocal members of the community rather than allowing time and consideration to inform decisions. I agree with that 100%. The latest example is Disney's firing of Gina Carano from The Mandalorian in February. She's a conservative who is not shy about expressing her views. Well, for one, she's never said that she's conservative. I guess you can kind of assume that at this point, but she's never come out and identified with a certain side of politics. But because she works for Ben Shapiro now, I guess you can assume that she's conservative. Then the article says the latest being a comment that compared conservatives being silenced and canceled today to Jews being targeted during the Holocaust. So I know this article is somewhat defending Gina Carano and slandering the management at Disney and Lucasfilm, but that's another false statement. She wasn't comparing being a conservative to being a Jew during the Holocaust. She was comparing being harassed for your political beliefs, no matter what side you're on, to being a Jew during that time period because the same thing happened to them before the Holocaust. She wasn't saying being canceled for your political views is the same thing as mass genocide. That's not what she was saying at all. She's not dumb. She knows that that's not a true statement. She was saying that the same thing happened to the Jews before the Holocaust. That's happening to people now for their political views. They're making it okay for people to be silenced because of their political views, and before the Holocaust, they made it okay to mistreat Jews in public. Still not a one-to-one comparison, but she's not only comparing being a conservative in America today to being a Jew during the Holocaust. That's just not what she was doing. Then the article says, an exaggerated comparison, yes, but enough to fire her, doubtful. I agree. I still don't think that that comparison is a one-to-one comparison, but I don't think it's as bad as people are making it out to be. People just read headlines nowadays, and those headlines are designed to get clicks, and they just believe the headline. She's more guilty of a bad comparison. Gina should have likened today's conservative cancel culture to the 1950s congressional hearings held to expose entertainment people who were members or sympathizers of the Communist Party. And then we get to the good part of the article. We can disagree to whether Disney was justified or not in firing Gina, but one thing is clear. Disney's management of its social responsibility persona is woefully flawed. 100% agree. Bob Chapek comes out the other day in a Disney shareholders meeting and tries to claim that Disney isn't left or right leaning. It's just so hypocritical. And before you say Forbes is biased and they're right leaning, on this website called All Sides, which is a website where people can go to vote on if a certain company is left or right leaning, it says Forbes is in the center. But if you still want to believe that they're only saying this stuff because they're right leaning, then you can believe that. I really don't care. The article then says, to begin with, the company's approach is confusing. Many assert that Pedro Pascal, star of The Mandalorian, offered similar analogies that Carano did, though with a liberal bent, when he shared a now deleted Instagram post comparing Donald Trump voters to Nazis. Pascal kept his job and Carano didn't. Disney's inconsistent approach led outsiders to suspect that Disney leans left, something that CEO Bob Chapek denied at the recent shareholders meeting by stating, I don't really see Disney as characterizing itself as left-leaning or right-leaning, yet instead standing for values. So Forbes is calling out the hypocrisy of Bob Chapek's statement, and Forbes is a business journalism company. They mostly talk about management and investing and that type of thing. So I would assume that they know a thing or two about good management. Disney's actions also appear hypocritical. At the same time, the shareholders meeting, Bob Chapek went on to say that Disney believes in values of respect, values of decency, values of integrity, and values of inclusion. We all know the quote. That's a noble goal, well said. But while Disney shapes and declares these aspirations for US consumption, it turned a blind eye to China when the company shot Mulan in the same Chinese province where the government forced millions of Uyghur Muslims into internment camps. Now, I'm sure I butchered that name. I really don't know how to say it, so I apologize. But I'm so glad that Forbes is calling this out. Now, if more people would only call this type of stuff out, we can actually make some changes at Disney. And while you're at it, call out the fact that they shrunk Finn down to an ant on the Force Awakens poster in China. They will do anything to make money in China. And they do the same thing in the US. They go to China, they appeal to their politics, and when they come to the US, they appeal to our politics. They don't care about any cause that they claim to support. They will do anything for that paycheck. But then at the same time, they claim to have these values. Values of decency, of integrity, of inclusion. But those values only apply where it can make you money. Yes, you love inclusion. You like having a black guy in the sequel trilogy. And in the US, you market towards him. He's huge on every poster. But you go to China and you shrink him down. You don't actually care about inclusion. You just care about the optics of it. You know that having minorities in the forefront will make you more money in the US, but in China it won't. And I'm so glad that Forbes is calling out the hypocrisy in all this. I hope more mainstream media companies like this can start realizing just how badly Disney is run. Because yes, they're extremely successful and I'm sure those people know what they're doing somewhat. But in terms of social and public perception, they're so bad. If they could just improve on that, they could truly become a monopoly. If they would actually care about the causes that they claim to support and actually do stuff that good people do instead of just claiming to care about that stuff and then make money off it, I really believe that Disney could take over the world. But I just want everyone to know that this is because of the fans. This article does not happen if the fans don't speak out. Not only are the fans speaking out, but the shareholders are speaking out, and now mainstream media, mainstream journalism companies are speaking out as well. So people are taking notice, and if this continues, things will change at Lucasfilm. If you hate Kathleen Kennedy as much as I do, check out my Ruined by Kathleen Kennedy merch linked in the description. But let me know what you guys think of this Forbes article in the comments. I think it's great that a mainstream media or journalism company is calling this stuff out and making it well known to the general public. Because if companies like that don't call it out, then most people will never know the shady stuff that they do. But let me know what you thought about the article in the comments. If you did enjoy this video, please leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. If you want to follow me on Twitter or join the Discord, both of those links will be in the description. But thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you on the next one.